manifesting things into reality is a very strong part of what we do as a human. And when there's enough people all manifesting one reality, that reality could actually be, and it could come as overnight in a blink of an eye, that reality might just change.
I mean, I think it's definitely going to be here in 5 years, right? And within 5 years, uh, the cost is going to be so low that the average, not the average, but maybe the upper class people can go.
Well, Branch,
What is
yeah, I hear what you're
what is
saying. Like, if you're claiming that if there's a time where everybody's, your mom, your brother, your sister, yourself, everyone's just going to space and floating around and going to the moon, and is that what you're saying? Like, just full on, like,
Right, it becomes like a touristy thing to do,
yeah. Well, I would say 1,000%. If it was a globe and if space existed, that would have existed in 1974. Like, that already would have been a thing.
Well,
So the fact that it isn't is highly suspect, because every other discovery in humanity, whether it's roller coasters, because I actually, when I was driving home, I was there's the Six Flags there. But anyway, so I saw the roller coasters, like, because I made I was doing a long drive, so I was drove today, so I drove through there. But anyways, like, once they discovered how to do roller coasters, they just got better and better and better. Everything they do gets better and better. So the fact that space travel has gone the opposite is definitely suspect to begin with.
Right, like somebody asked a similar question to Globers, like, what if it really got proved it was flat, right? How would you feel? And the consensus was people will be a little bit gobsmacked, but then super excited because there's this whole plethora of fucking shit now to explore, right? I'm just wondering, like, that was the consensus. At least I think it was asked to me and George, and that was that was what we had thought. I'm just wondering, as a glober, as a flat earther, if the opposite happened to you, where now it's obvious that we're on a globe, how would you feel? Would you be excited, or would you be? I'm just wondering, how would you feel?
Yeah.
I'll fill in for about 20 seconds. So the way I see people's idea of there being different dimensions, I would probably rename that dimension to paradigm. It's kind of like, if you're in a certain paradigm, if you were a rich person with lots of money, you'd be in a particular. I don't know if you've ever experienced being really wealthy, and you're in a paradigm, and you're used to so many reactions from your environment, and then you suddenly become poor. You're treated really differently, and the way I see dimensions compared with, how it is now, I'd probably say that this whole dimension is set up not individually. You know how you point out those individual things like this and that, NASA, blah blah. This whole reality is just one big paradigm. It's like switching from one game to another. If you go out to another paradigm, the whole place is set up to offer a paradigm. You know what I mean?
Kind of. I'm not sure if that's completely on par with what I'm asking, but
It's not really what he's asking at all.
No, it isn't. It was really off topic, but it was to give Geo enough time to think about what would he really feel if it was found out that we could do space travel and it is a globe, because
well, the reason
paradigm shift, right?
Well, the reason that I was pausing as well is because I was thinking about how, yeah, like, I hear what you're saying there as well, but like I was thinking about how like the old, like, the example I've used before, like, let's say some girlfriend cheats on someone, cheats on you or whatever. If you know for sure that it happened, what would be the usefulness of the exercise of somebody being like, hey, dude, what would it be like if your girlfriend didn't cheat on you, So in that way, like, for myself, I already know 1,000% the earth is not a globe. So to then imagine what if it was, it's like I have to go into complete speculation mode because I already know it not to be that. So the only way for me to answer it is just to, I guess, kind of create some made up type reality of what that would be like.
Yeah, but what would it be like? I mean, that's extremely similar to how I felt about it when I was asked the question, right?
Well, I think at this day and age in the world, the way that things are in terms of this, and especially what's gone on the last 7 years within all of this that's been happening in these communities and everything, if indeed there was some ultimate proof of a globe Earth that was absolutely undeniable, pretty simple. We would all be like, oh, okay, well, I guess it was a globe. And then that's it, because we were all already brought up on it, and that would be it.
I think
most
there's a
people
lot.
would probably just move on and be like, oh, okay, that's the case. Now, I think that there'd be a lot of bizarre things because now there has to be some kind of bizarre, unproven refraction that bends and warps mountains thousands and thousands of feet to display them on the horizon as if the Earth is a stationary plane. So then it would just get really weird. It's like, okay, well then what is actually creating the Earth to look and observe and measure a stationary plane? And then see, that's the thing. How would that even match up? Because that's already been done. Like it's already happened. So in my
But
viewpoint,
ask,
people may have
why are you talking about stationary? You're talking about curvature.
Well, both. Yeah, the lack of curve and the lack of movement. It's already the case.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, if you were to imagine
those two together when you're talking, they're two separate things.
There's a good chance, though, that if the Earth's a globe, then everything else that the globe is believe is probably right too, right? I'm just throwing it out there that let's say that proof did come out one day that hey, you can go on a spaceship and see that the Earth's a globe. There's a good chance that the rest of the shit the globe has said was right too, right?
I know. Even trying to fathom that, it's such an inconceivable reality that I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be like take a dig or anything, but I'm just saying like it seems like so opposite of what even is reality that my only way to think about it is just like some kind of like a bizarro world, like some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of world in which like all of a sudden like reality has morphed into some demonic thing at that point.
That's exactly how Globers feel about the flat Earth. That is impossible. It's a bizarro fucking thing that people are thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of like this massive paradigm shift that would have to take. You can imagine yourself when you're sane, or how about when you're drunk? What paradigm are you in then? And what about if you take ecstasy or ayahuasca or something like that? You're in a totally different paradigm. And I can tell you something. Once when I used to live in Christchurch in South Island here in New Zealand. The Park Royal Gardens Hotel had like a really big garden in front of it, and it had paved area. There was a certain spot that it was just this random spot in this open sort of a courtyard. And if you stood in that spot, all the sound encompassed you, and it was kind of like being in some type of a void with like the sound didn't go sort of more than 1 foot out. It sounded like you're walking into a room, like into a really small room, and the voice would sort of echo around you. But if you looked up, everything was really colorful. It was just so amazing. And we used to do that when I was at university there. We used to go there all the time just to, no one knew that it was there. You'd have tourists, Japanese tourists with their cameras and stuff, and they'd be walking along, and suddenly one of them would just stop and go, "Hey, konnichiwa, komatata," whatever. Holy fuck! And
Carlos,
they're just like
it's cracking
mesmerized.
me up, Carlos, man, because you know exactly what you're doing. Right?
The eyes were popping out of their head, man.
As far as how what you're talking about relates to the conversation at hand, you know exactly what's up, but you still do it.
It's a paradigm. It's all about paradigm shift, man. And what I'm saying is manifestation. Like at the moment, people, the vibe and the energy and the frequency is kind of really rigid. And at the same time, you got earthquake in Hawaii today. You got earthquakes. This whole place is energetic. And if once people, we're in an area that what we think the flat Earth is true, and there's no way that it could be false.
Wait,
and
so
it definitely
you are a flat earther? I wasn't sure.
Yeah. But the thing is, that paradigm could change, and with our manifestation, our consciousness, we could actually reverse it and make it become a ball again.
You know
I don't
what?
think so. I don't think so. I mean, this reminds me earlier when Bev was talking. As it just reminded me of that. I mean, there are geometric proofs, just like Bev talks about. He's absolutely correct on that. In terms of the nature and structure of reality, the XYZ axis, and how the construction of the physical world is constructed. Like in my viewpoint, I mean, I know there is like maybe ideas of like, oh, it's all a simulation. Like it's a globe for you and it's something else for someone else. But in my viewpoint, there is an actual corporeal physical world that has its actual structures. And that's why Branch was talking about going to space. Like, I don't think that a vacuum surrounding a globe Earth is even a part of the cosmos at all. So that's why the idea of trying to tell me, like, what would I, if that was true, I guess at that point, reality would have to shift or something, into a whole different reality, because it definitely isn't the one I'm in now.
I mean, I personally don't think it's going to have a major impact on people. Like, I mean, in my reality, it's going to happen in 5 years, right? That you're going to have undeniable proof in the form of space travel.
Really? So you're okay because you I don't know if you've heard me say, but I often give a bit of a 5 to 15 year period is when the planar stationary Earth will fully come out and be known. I mean, there's going to be like physical setups and demonstrations on the Earth. I think that will lead towards that. But we have probably the next 4 to 5 years, which is going to be still just in like the discussion mode. But we'll start to get some more and more things going. I mean, people are already doing good things in terms of going out and doing different surveying. And I mean, people have been for a while, but I'm saying like getting to the point where we can get even more advanced, setups like that, demonstrations. And then that's when we're going to then cook into like this, in my opinion, like a 10-year whole decade of just a huge renaissance within all of this. And yeah, I think they're going to be ramping up the fake outer space travel agenda. So I guess they're going to be pushing that to see how many people they can convince, of like civilian space travel. It's kind of like their last card that they're playing. So yeah, it's a little bit of a
I mean,
process.
you're gonna have the obvious argument that hey, you didn't really go to space, and those weren't really windows that you're looking
Well,
out
think
of.
about how far they can stretch that with even just with crisis actors. They could take that for at least probably 10 years if they wanted. Unless people wake up. That's
I
the
mean,
thing.
do you think, Gio, are you the type of person though that if space travel become if not, again, it's not really space travel, just space tourism, where you can go up into space, see the curve, experience weightlessness for a little bit, and then come back down. That type of tourism, if that becomes widely available, like let's say a 100 grand a pop, right? And now you've got a lot of people doing it. Would that be enough for you to believe that the Earth is actually a globe? So basically, the price of the ticket is 100 grand, which is what I think will probably be around.
Honestly, one thought I would have is, did I just transition to another dimension? Because the dimension I was on was not a sphere, and now from up here, I'm looking at something that looks like a sphere. I would start to think perhaps I went through some kind of a portal, because when I'm down on the ground here, it 1000% is not a sphere.
Right. That's exactly what I was trying to ask. Is would you accept it, or would you come up with some other form of reality that says, you know what? You would actually.
I mean,
come up with
seriously,
another
like
form
at
of
that
reality.
point, it's like simulation portal shit, because like it definitely isn't that here. So why would it look like that there?
So
And no,
even
that would, I don't know what that would do. That would be an experience.
so
I mean, I
Gio,
guess any experience I have to decipher it in the moment to, to properly sort it to the best of my capacity.
So Gio, what you just told me is this, right? Like, let's say somebody paid that 100 grand to send you up on a spaceship, to do the whole space touristy shit. You would still deny that the Earth is a globe. That's basically what you just said.
Yeah, it's like when you go to McDonald's in the morning and you're really hungover and you order far too many burgers and you just eat the whole lot, and you've got the munchies too because you've probably been smoking a bit, and you just go, fuck, I can't believe I ate that shit.
Dude, I do that shit with
It's a funny
fucking
thing to
Jack
say.
in the Box, man. I feel like Jack in the Box is the shittiest of shit fucking fast food.
I mean, Branch, what if you put it the other way around? If you believe the Earth is a globe, what if you went up in a high altitude thing and you saw just the absolute extended plane and a local sun? What would you then?
Right, then I would fucking come back down and I would actually like super want to study how the fuck shit works.
Well, I mean, the first thing
it
that one
opens
would
up.
want to do, I would say, like, even if you went up in some high altitude thing and you saw something, that's still only one method of observation. Like, wouldn't, because the other, like, if that happened, if somebody sent me up in some rocket ship and I quote unquote saw a globe Earth up there, and then I came back down, well, I would then want to continue measuring the Earth, because if we measure the Earth to be planar, but it looks different from up there, well, then now we're talking about some completely different type of reality shift going on. You know, so that's why I think physically measuring it is, that's like in this 5 to 15 year period where I think there's going to be this huge renaissance and breakthrough with all this. That's because that's when that starts happening. Like in that period is when we start actually having the physical demonstrations on the Earth, and then at more and more places around the Earth. And once that's the case, I mean, what more can you get than measuring the floor?
Dude, I would actually be a lot more ecstatic than I'm letting on. Like basically, if I went up and I saw the Earth was flat, right? In my mind, my first thought would actually be, okay, that now proves the existence of God, because there's no way in hell a flat Earth can exist unless a God made it.
Why there's that saying, yeah, man, it came out from the 60s, I think it was, or maybe the 70s, yeah, kind of like Woodstock era. And you must have heard it before. Yeah, he's really down to earth, man. Or hey, bring it back down to earth. Or you know, it's always talking about that because that's reality. Bring it back down to earth, man. As soon as you start talking about what's up there, you're not in reality anymore. So you need to bring it back down to earth, brother.
Well, it's recreated on every level too, like theaters and like football arenas. It's the same thing. Like you have a stationary surface, and then you have like a surrounding structure. It's kind of like and also like a stage. Like when you're like in the audience, and it's all of those are microcosm, macrocosm as well in terms of like we're on a, just like when you're in like a room in your house, you have the floor, and then you have some kind of container, and then that is within something larger perhaps, but you're still kind of within some kind of ecosystem.
Right, and that's kind of what you're saying about dimensions and stuff. So, basically what you told me was, let's say that we did send you up on a ship, and you was able to see the globe. Now your reasoning behind it still being flat would be that you actually went through a different dimension.
Well, I personally, this is just my personal experience. I've had a visionary experience where essentially it was out of body, but I was also simultaneously in my body. So it was both. I was in my body and out at the same time. That's the way that this particular experience was. And essentially, I zoomed out of the entire Earth and saw the entire plane of the Earth, like in my mind's eye, essentially. Like, but when I say my mind's eye, but it was physical, but it was at a like a zooming out, and I basically
How did it
zoomed out,
look?
and I saw the whole thing, and then I zoomed out and saw the whole thing from outside of it, and then I saw how this whole realm, like the stationary planar thing, that's like this whole like bubble, whatever this realm we're in, is literally one of infinite other realms. And so I was seeing like this infinite vision of like just literally infinite realms going out, all in their own kind of little regions, their own like structures.
Just something really funny happened to me today.
Like a spore, like a fungus spore with little holes.
Dude, DMOC, there's something crazy funny. something really funny happened to me today. I went to a friend's house, and over lockdown, he's been renovating his house, and he asked me a question before I came over. He said, "Do you know why my chairs in my house never move?" I said, "Why?" I said, "What chairs?" He said, "Well, my chairs at my dining room table." He said, "There's no other furniture in my house that moves. Only my chairs and my dining room table, but they're fixed in my house. Do you want to know why?" And so we went into his door. He used memory foam, like this thick ass memory foam, to use it as an underlay for his entire house, except for the kitchen and the bathrooms and the laundry. And on top of that, he's done llama hide all the way across, all stitched together, this perfect llama hide. So it's not like sheep's wool. It's this most lush carpet you could ever imagine, and with this super memory foam, and you can just lie down wherever you want. You can just lie down and go to sleep. When you walk, it feels like a hard surface, but spongy. But if you sit there for a while, you sink into the floor, and it's like that's why all of his furniture they're quite a little bit shorter than your average furniture because he's dug holes for the feet of all the furniture. But for the chairs, they're fixed because if you were heavy on one, you were holding a bowl of noodles or whatever, on one side, you'd slowly start sinking down into the floor. That would be a good party trick, by the way. But yeah,
Dude,
it
I
was.
was so thinking about doing that shit. Like, I was setting up a movie theater room, right? And instead of making it one where you look at the screen, I was thinking about doing it like so that the whole floor is just mattresses.
Liquid.
The whole floor is
Use
just
liquid.
mattresses, right? And then the projector's projecting up onto the ceiling, so that the way you watch the movie is just by walking in the room and laying down and looking up. It's totally gonna do that, but the problem is in Texas it's too fucking hot, and it's pretty hard to set up fans that blow sideways and keep you cool and shit. I don't know. I didn't do it because it was too much work, to be honest. But I think that would still be a cool ass thing to fucking do.
That memory foam floor in my mate's house, he's got, in Thailand they have those triangle pyramid sort of shaped leaners. They're made of cotton, and they're kind of like these tubes that are sort of put on top of each other like a 8-ball stack. And you lie on those as well. But he had them made with memory foam coating as well, so it's just so lush. You can lay back and you can. He's just all the furniture is
Air,
all
or liquid. You can also use air and liquid too. You like the same type of effect.
like a gel. Oh, you
I
could
don't
use.
like memory
Yep.
foam. Memory foam feels icky to me, dude. It's like it's too soft.
No, but no, you can get really dense memory foam too. It's really dense and it takes way longer. That's what he used. But like as far as the other point, but I don't know. What do you think?
What was the other point?
It's a good idea. I mean, is it flame retardant and shit? I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah. What Democ was saying about the gel. Imagine if you had that gel, and because you want to control the ambient temperature of the room.